Well, good afternoon everybody, and welcome once again to the inaugural meeting of the Citizens' Assembly. It is a great honour for me to have been asked to act as Chairperson of the Assembly and to open the first meeting. I would like to thank the Taoiseach for his opening address, and in particular for outlining the context for the work we are about to undertake. I would also like to thank our panel of speakers this afternoon, Maurice Manning, Ita Mangan and David Farrell. Their presentations have provided an interesting and illuminating backdrop to our work, both past, present and future, even though Ita didn't decide to go 100 years into the future. I would also like to welcome Tom Arnold, the Chairman of the Convention on the Constitution, which was, as we've heard from David Farrell, the highly regarded precursor of this Assembly. We have a lot to live up to, Tom, but I would like to thank you and your team for the guidance and support you have already provided to me and to the Secretariat to date. And I have to mention in particular Art O'Leary, who was the Secretary to the Convention on the Constitution, and I know from talking to Sharon that he has been a great help to her, and I'm very grateful for that, and all I can say is go to Mila Mahagav. However, perhaps most importantly, I want to welcome all my fellow members here today. Together, we form 100 citizens entrusted by the Houses of the Oireachtas with the task to examine, make recommendations and report on a number of key issues facing Irish society. I look forward to getting to know you all and working with each of you over the coming months. I'm just going to make a few observations about the background and the Assembly work programme. As the Taoiseach has outlined in his opening address, the resolution approving the establishment of the Assembly was passed by both Houses of the Oireachtas in July this year. Under that resolution, the Assembly has been furnished an ambitious work programme to complete over the coming year. And I just want to pause there for a moment. I'm a bit fixated with the fact that our job comes from a resolution of both Houses of the Oireachtas, and you're going to hear me repeat this time and again in this talk, but I think it's terribly important. Our task is given to us by both Houses of the Oireachtas, and when I have instructed the Secretariat, when this speech goes on the website, to annex to it the resolution. And I know you already have a copy of the resolution as passed by both Houses, but I just cannot emphasise strongly enough how important it is that we got our task from the Oireachtas. Now, the task we've been asked to do involves 5 discrete topics. First, there's the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. Secondly, how we best respond to the challenges and opportunities of an ageing population. Thirdly, fixed-term parliaments. Fourthly, the manner in which referenda are held. And fifthly, how the state can make Ireland a leader in tackling climate change. So they're the 5 topics. Under the Oireachtas resolution, the Assembly will first consider and make recommendations and report to the Houses of the Oireachtas on the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. The Assembly will then consider, make recommendations on and report on each remaining matter as soon as it is possible to do so when we've completed our deliberations on those topics. This is an ambitious programme of work and one we must complete within 1 year. Now, I just want to give you some explanation of the makeup of the Assembly and how the members were chosen. The Oireachtas resolution outlined how the Assembly was to be comprised, a chairperson to be appointed by the government, and 99 citizens entitled to vote at a referendum who were to be randomly selected so as to be broadly representative of Irish society. Following a competitive tendering process, Red Sea Research and Marketing Limited was appointed to provide a representative sample of 99 members of the public for the Citizens' Assembly. The members before us today, who are here, have been chosen at random and are broadly representative of demographic variables as reflected in the census, including age, gender, social class, and regional spread. The members are also on the electoral register and are eligible to vote in a referendum. As was the case with the convention, the names and the general areas, that's the limit of the information, the names and the general areas where members come from will be made available on the Assembly's website following this inaugural meeting. So as I say, it's just your name and where you come from, no other detail. To the members of the Assembly, to you who are here today for the first time, I say that there are some things I would like to share with you about the work we're about to embark on, indeed about your central role in the process we're about to embark on. Firstly, I hope you will share with me the sense of privilege as Irish citizens of being asked to perform the task given to us by the Houses of the Oireachtas. It is a privilege. I also hope that this will be a substantial and inclusive national endeavour, one which, upon its conclusion, we can look back on with pride. As members, you do not need to have any specialist knowledge of the topics in order to take part. It is my responsibility as Assembly Chair to make sure you have all the necessary material on all the relevant matters put before you in relation to each issue. It is our role collectively to consider that material and to come to our own conclusions. Now let me be clear. At the very heart of this process is the requirement that your opinions are heard. There will be no right and wrong answers. There will be no such thing as a stupid question. The Assembly, as I see it, is a safe space in which your views and concerns, your perceptions and questions can find expression. In other words, the Assembly will provide an open and inclusive process to allow for informed discussion and debate, to allow all sides of the argument to be heard, and to hear the opinions of you, the members, as you examine the issues in detail. And I stress there openness, and I'll come back to that again. Some of you may be concerned that my legal background will mean that the focus of the Assembly's meetings will be very legalistic, or that some background in law may be required on your part. Others may worry that perhaps consideration of the effects of the existing or any proposed legal framework, in particular its impact on Irish citizens, will not receive sufficient focus. Let me assure you that I'm fully aware of the need to explore all aspects of the issues before us, not just their legal implications. I see my role as creating an environment where we can have a mature discussion about the issues before us, where the material we consider is fair and balanced and is presented in a format which is accessible and as comprehensive as possible. Now, I'm just going to make some brief observations as to how we will approach our work. There is no denying that the first topic we must consider, the 8th Amendment of the Constitution, has been exceptionally contentious, and it has been a sensitive issue, one that has been the subject of much public engagement and media commentary. And of course it goes without saying, as you will have heard from the Taoiseach, that it is an extremely important issue. Whatever your views on the rights and wrongs of the Assembly as a vehicle for such a debate, I can only give my commitment that I, as Chair, will do my utmost to facilitate an open, transparent, informed and detailed, and most importantly, a balanced discussion on this complex and challenging topic. In order to achieve that balance right across the work programme of the Assembly, it is necessary that its structure, principles and rules and procedures make the balance possible. In this regard, the Assembly is fortunate to be able to build on the work of the Convention and on the We the Citizens project, which was before the Convention. This participative democracy model provides a platform for a cross-section of the public to hear presentations from experts and civil society groups and to engage in rational and reasoned discussion, and to then make recommendations to the Oireachtas on the options available. And this is, again, I'm probably getting a bit repetitive, but I want to say it again. It is important to bear in mind that under the Constitution, the Oireachtas, our national parliament, has the sole and exclusive powers of making law for the state, but the Oireachtas has given us the task of giving it recommendations. Later today in the private session, the members will consider the key principles and rules and procedures which will underpin our work. But it is useful now to refer to some of these to give the wider public a sense of how we will go about our work. An underlying feature to all of our work will be openness. The Citizens' Assembly will operate with complete transparency, with all plenary meetings being broadcast live on the website. All briefing material will be freely available. The Assembly will be open to hearing the views of all sections of society on any issue, including our diaspora and also young people under 18 years of age who are not directly represented in the Assembly membership, obviously because of the qualification of being on the electoral register. In considering matters of public concern, fairness is crucial, and it is important that we allow the full spectrum of views to be heard on every issue, and that our briefing material for the Assembly members is of the highest quality. Equality of voice amongst all Assembly members will be an essential part of how we undertake our work. Each member will be given an opportunity to voice his or her opinion should he or she wish to do so. Finally, I would like to say something about respect. That is to say, respect for the members. It is important that members can freely and confidently make contributions and express their views without harassment or criticism. This principle will apply both while the meetings of the Assembly are in session and, I must stress, in the periods between the meetings, between the sessions. I wish to make it abundantly clear at the outset that any individual or organisation which attempts to contact a member to try to influence his or her views on a particular topic will be automatically excluded from taking part in the Assembly. In agreeing to undertake the task you've undertaken, the members before us today are giving freely of their time in service of the state, and they have to be respected. As such, the members should feel able to take full part in the Assembly without being influenced or subject to any attempt to sway their views in any particular direction. Any suggestion of influence or coercion would undermine the process and weaken the impact of the recommendations that the Assembly eventually makes. And I would just like you to remind you of what the Taoiseach said about social media, and I would ask you to bear that in mind. I'm very grateful to him for making those observations. And just on this overall topic which I'm talking about now, respect, I want to emphasise that respect for the members is a core principle of the workings of the Assembly, which will be assiduously adhered to. It is clear to me that the complexity of the first topic, the 8th Amendment of the Constitution, will mean that the Assembly will require more than one meeting to be able to fully understand the issues and to hear from all the voices in the debate. As this is the first meeting of the Assembly and these details will ultimately be a matter for all the members to agree upon, it would be inappropriate of me to prejudge how the Assembly will approach the work programme. However, I believe we must seek to strike a balance between the time required to consider the matter in a comprehensive manner, while ensuring that the members do not feel overburdened at any time. And that is something the Secretariat will be conscious of and will keep me advised on. As provided for in the Oireachtas resolution, an expert advisory group is being established to assist the work of the Assembly in terms of preparing information and advice, and this is very important. The expert advisory group will be comprised of academics and practitioners across a number of specific fields of interest and relevance, including, and I'm stressing including, there's not a closed door on this, political and social science, constitutional law and theory, medical law and ethics, and medicine and obstetrics. And of course, as time progresses and as we move along and deal with other issues, or even with the first issue, it may well be necessary to expand the expert advisory group, and I think it's true to say we have an open mind about that. The members of the expert advisory group are being carefully chosen to ensure that they have the relevant expertise and experience, and that they are impartial and objective on the topics before the Assembly about which they are assisting. Details of the terms of reference and membership of the expert advisory group will be considered by the Assembly later today, and once agreed, details will be made available on the Assembly's website. And the next observation I want to make is very important. Early next week, the Assembly will be calling for submissions from representative groups, citizens' organisations, other interested bodies and members of the public in relation to the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. These submissions will also help to form the work programme for the debate. So that it is very important that that is noted by the public generally and by interested bodies, and that they avail of the opportunity to make submissions. I would encourage everyone with an interest in this topic to engage with the Assembly, either through the submissions process or alternatively by logging onto the website to watch the proceedings live and read the material before the Assembly. As I've stressed throughout, there will be complete openness and transparency about this process. Now, just some concluding remarks. I believe that the success of the Assembly will depend on the openness with which we all approach our work, and our readiness to ensure that all who wish to be heard have that opportunity. As Franklin D. Roosevelt said, and I quote, "Democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy, therefore, is education." At the end of the day, it will be the members of the Assembly who decide on the recommendations to be made to the Oireachtas, having been informed and educated to the greatest extent possible. I reiterate, and you're probably really bored hearing me say this at this stage, but I do, I think it's so important. I reiterate that it will be the Assembly members who make the recommendations, and that is the responsibility we have to discharge, and it is a responsibility that was given to us by the Houses of the Oireachtas. I very much look forward to working closely with all of you during the next 12 months. And before concluding the public session, I must express my gratitude to the Secretary-General of the Department of the Taoiseach, Mr. Martin Fraser, and his officials who have assisted the Secretariat in getting to this point, and it was not easy. There were an awful lot of tendering processes to be gone through, and an awful lot of administrative matters. I must also express my gratitude to the Secretary Sharon Finnegan and to the staff who have been seconded to the Secretariat. They have done a truly amazing job in getting us to this point from the beginning of August to now, with the holiday period included. Arish Guramila Mahagav. This concludes the public session of the inaugural meeting of the Citizens' Assembly. We meet next on the 26th of November, when we will begin consideration of the first topic, the 8th Amendment of the Constitution. Thank you.